And welcome back, everyone, to this busy Thursday edition with all this breaking news and lots of text messages that were great. But as always on Thursdays at 4:35, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome Jay Robertson from Opportunity, Arkansas to the show. Jay, how you doing this week?
Steve, I'm doing great. Appreciate the introduction. The pleasure is all mine. It's good to be back with you.
Now, I think I owe you an apology. I had a Freudian slip last week, and I referred to you as Jay Richardson because I was thinking of one of my friends. And Toby came up to me today. He poked his head in my office. He said, "You know that Jay's name is Robertson, not Richardson." I said, "Did I say that?" He was like, "Yes." So I wanted to make sure I fixed that this week.
No worries. Hey, I've, like I said, I've been called worse things, so that's all good.
Hey, if you grow a beard and longer hair, we can make you part of the Robertsons from northern Louisiana. Willie's brother, another one.
That's true. Yeah, that could be my new claim to fame.
There you go. All righty. But as always, we usually talk about financial things, taxes, and updates on that. Now, you sent me this great article to read from Arkansas Money and Politics about the state income taxes, both, I'm assuming they're meaning both corporate and individual taxes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the main focus has been on individual income taxes, and we've seen this shared a bit. I'll tell you, one of the questions that we always get is, why do you focus on income tax? And as you know, and some of your listeners may know, at Opportunity Arkansas, our mission is to simplify government, solve generational problems. So one way to simplify government is to reduce the size of government and let taxpayers keep more of what they earn. But also these generational problems we talk about all the time, crime, government dependency. The best way to break out of these cycles is having a job, and hard work is important. We need more people working in the state. One of the best ways to do that is to reward hard work by letting people keep more of what they earn. So that's the reason we talk so much about getting rid of our state income tax. Yes,
and we all know, it's like I said, I don't know if you were listening in the last segment, but I said, I've always told my accountant, I want to pay my fair share, but I don't want to pay a penny more to the state or the feds. And but simplifying the government, simplifying the tax. Now, we all appreciate the different services that our taxes pay for. Now, one of the things I learned in this, that they referenced Michael Palco, who's the chief economist here at the Arkansas Economic Development Institute at the UA Little Rock, that 50% of the state's revenue comes from income taxes.
Yeah, so that's one thing I think we need to set the record straight on. So there's a lot of different ways to frame how the state gets money, but we need to look at the total picture of what the state government spends. And when you do that, you see that income taxes are not the backbone of state government. It's more like less than a quarter of state spending comes from the income tax. So last fiscal year, the state spent about $24 billion. $3.5 billion of that came from income tax. So this idea that, eliminating the income tax is going to decimate the government, we're not going to be able to provide core services, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny, because this is absolutely possible. It has to be done responsibly. That's the reason that we've launched our Pay As We Grow campaign, to say that we should give people a pay raise by cutting the income tax automatically as revenues go up. We know that this can work because we've seen it work here in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And so, at the end of the day, a lot of these are just excuses or reasons we hear about why we can't do this. Arkansas is already proving that we can do it. So over the last decade, if you zoom out, we've had about 6 rounds of income tax cuts over the last decade. And over that time period, since 2014, we've cut income taxes 6 times. Total state spending has grown over $10 billion. So spending and revenue has continued to go up. And so, this gets back to the same thing we hear in Washington, that if we cut taxes, we're not going to be able to afford what government needs. But it's not a zero-sum game. When we cut taxes, we're giving that money back to the people who earned it. They spend it, they invest it, and the state ultimately has more revenue to provide the services it needs.
Yes. And I know a growing economy lifts all boats, so I'm good with that. Now, I read the press release that Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders put out that said that, they've lowered income taxes by approximately 20%. And the Sanders administration goes on to say they identified at least $300 million in taxpayer savings, and these were through operating cuts and improved efficiency. Now, that's something I'm always for. I can't stand to see things wasted. And, that was something, in my Army career, I was always cognizant of, that the American taxpayers and the American people were the ones providing us for what we needed. And I think we should look for more efficiency in government and ways to save money. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's exactly right. So Governor Sanders has made it a priority to phase out the state income tax. It's something she's talked about a lot. The legislatures made significant progress on this in recent years, as we've talked about. And if we're really concerned about the state budget, we shouldn't use that as an excuse to give money back to taxpayers. We should take a hard look at the spending. So there's lots of places we can find efficiencies. I mean, last fiscal year, the state of Arkansas spent almost $10 billion on our Medicaid program. $1.3 billion of state revenue went straight into the Medicaid program, which is because we've expanded Medicaid under Obamacare, it's serving a lot of able-bodied adults. Now, thankfully, we're going to be able to find some savings there by ensuring that program's focused on people who need it. The new work requirements that President Trump helped get through in the big, beautiful bill are going to help us realize some savings there. But that's just one gigantic piece of the budget. And there's lots of places we can find savings there if we're really concerned about the state's budget. It shouldn't be used as an excuse to slow down or delay income tax reduction, because I know we've talked about this before, but people who are working are still feeling the effects of the inflation that we saw under the Biden administration.
Absolutely.
I mean, those prices went up and they haven't come back down in most cases. So this is a great way for us to reward people who are working, put more money back into their paychecks, and it's not going to decimate the budget. Like the data is very clear on that we've seen continued growth in spending while we've continued cutting taxes. And so now's the time to continue along this path. And I think the reason that we're hearing a lot of this now is because it's popular with voters. They've seen the impact that tax cuts have had, and they're ready for more.
I agree. Now, Jay, I'm going to ask if you can stay through the break. I have some more questions I want to discuss with you over this. And welcome back, everyone, to the Steve Finnegan Show. If you're just joining us, of course, welcome. On the KARN American Leak Detection Hotline with me is Jay Robertson from Opportunity, Arkansas. Welcome back, Jay.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be here.
So we left off discussing about eliminating the state income tax, which the governor said is one of her priorities. And then I know as I went through that article from Arkansas Money and Politics, the Republican Party chairman, Joseph Wood, said that he views the eventual repeal of this Arkansas state income tax as a sure thing. Of course, he's not giving us a time limit. So what would you think would be an approximate time limit on this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, we talked a little bit in the last segment about how Arkansas has made some good progress here, thanks to Governor Sanders, thanks to the legislature that's actually made an effort to reduce our state income tax. Over the last decade or so, we've had about 6 income tax reductions, but it's been a bit sporadic. So the current approach is, has been explained, is that we're using surplus revenue to provide income tax cuts, and so that's one of the reasons that at Opportunity Arkansas we put forward a plan which we call Pay as We Grow, and what this is, it puts us on a path to eliminating the income tax completely. And it does that with automatic tax cuts that are tied to revenue growth. So we know that we've seen in Arkansas, we've seen at the federal level that when we cut income taxes, we give money back to taxpayers. They spend that money, they use that money, it grows our state's economy, revenue goes up from other sources. Pay as We Grow says that every time state revenue goes up, we should take a portion of that and give it back to taxpayers, give it back to the people who earned it. So when the state collects a surplus, that means they're collecting more than they budgeted for, more than they budgeted to spend. And by putting this into law, it takes all the question or uncertainty out of the equation to say that going forward, when the state collects a surplus, we're going to automatically give taxpayers a pay raise. And we've seen that that's very popular with voters. Voters want more income tax cuts. At Opportunity Arkansas, we've conducted polling on this. Over 60% of Arkansas voters want to see the income tax cut, and Pay as We Grow is the way that we can get there. It's a plan that takes the uncertainty out of it, and once again, this is using surplus revenue growth, and so it completely sidesteps all these questions and concerns about, well, what if we don't have enough money to do the core things that government needs to do? Well, we're collecting plenty of money to do all that. And with Pay as We Grow, we're ensuring that it's done in a responsible way. We're not advocating going to zero tomorrow. That would be irresponsible because it would force us to make a lot of very tough decisions.
Yes.
But this is a plan that will put us on a gradual path to ensure that as state revenue grows, we're cutting taxes, we're giving that money back to taxpayers directly into their paychecks by cutting the income tax.
Yes. Well, in addition to Professor Michael Pankow over there, the chief economist at the Arkansas Economics Development Institute at UA Little Rock, he doesn't seem that it's possible, but and I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I do know State Representative Andrew Collins from Little Rock here. He's the Democrats' House Minority Leader, and he is going on to say, quote, "It's not so sure that the state will eliminate its income tax anytime soon, and not under Governor Huckabee Sanders' administration." So, your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? One of the narratives that we hear a lot, and I think you heard a lot several years ago at the state capitol, was that people would laugh when you talked about getting rid of the state income tax. They said, that's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. Well, we've made some pretty remarkable progress in a short period of time. And it's also a problem that people just assume that because there's an income tax, it can never go away. I mean, there are several states that don't have an income tax. We're bordered by two of those. Texas and Tennessee don't have a state income tax. And that's also important because this is relevant for the state. If we want to continue growing our economy, people look at these things when they're making decisions about where to live, where to invest, where to grow a business. I mean, young people are flocking to Texas and Tennessee and Florida. And part of that's because businesses understand the value of that. It allows them to invest more into their operations. It creates more opportunities.
Well,
and so
I'm just going to give you a little bit of the other side. Both Texas and Tennessee have much higher property taxes. Now, my brother lives down in Florida, and we've talked about this, but, in Arkansas, the cost of registering one's car is not that expensive, and the state is even very kind to any veteran, and you get a veteran's tag, and they even discount it further. But my brother had to pay over $300 in registration fees. And then, of course, Texas and Tennessee and Florida said they're going to try to work on the property taxes, but their property taxes are a whole lot higher than ours. And I actually have one of our listeners, Jimmy, texted in and asked, does Opportunity Arkansas have any plans or work to get rid of property taxes in Arkansas, or especially for once a person is 65 or older? And Jay, we got about 30 seconds to get to this.
Yeah, it's a good question. I appreciate you bringing it up. So we're focused on the income tax right now because that is the tax on working people, people who are working, and states around us are moving to get rid of theirs. And if we don't move quickly, if we don't maintain this progress, we're going to fall behind. But we're for reducing the tax burden across the board. If we can eliminate the income tax, that puts us in a great place and allows us to start looking at all these other taxes.
Great. Excellent answer. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your insight, and we'll look forward to having you back on next week.
Sounds great. Thank you,
All
Steve.
right. There he goes, everyone. Jay Robertson. I will be back after the news.